Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the unfiltered news from the reality zone where political correctness is not spoken here. Compiled by G. Edward Griffin and his news scouts here. And this is for May 25th through the 31st, 2013. These are the symbols that you need to know what type articles. Remember that star indicates article worth keeping for future references. And also you can get the entire collection of the Unfiltered News articles here. As well as new articles, Unfiltered Forum, Freedom Force, and so on. Let's go to the comic strip. This is funny. Here it is. IRS busts down door, comes in, bunch of ladies drinking tea, goes, but this isn't that kind of tea party. That's gotta be one of the best things. Anywho, let's go on. Let's go on and see the rest. Here we go. First article for news you may have missed over the past week. This is for the 21st, today, or May 21st. Interesting. They must have changed this around, or this is something that needed to be recaptured. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo threatened to fire any sheriff who speak out against the state's new gun control law. The New York State Sheriff's Association and some sheriffs have joined in a lawsuit challenging the new law, and they should. They should all stand together and have this guy removed somehow by lawsuit. Have him and do a petition to the people saying, look what this guy's doing. Look what Cuomo's doing. Do you want this type of Marxism in your state? This is from the Times Union, May 21st. And you can see it there. Next, video. The TSA says that backscatter X-ray machines, which produce detailed images of the human body, have been removed from all U.S. airports and replaced with a new system that shows only body outlines. It is not clear from this report if the amount of X-ray radiation has been reduced or if it's only the nature of the recorded images has been altered. If so, it is a step in the right direction for privacy and modesty, but does nothing to reduce the health hazard of the backscatter radiation that breaks your DNA and unzips it. Every time you go through there, it's unzipping your DNA. Pretty soon you'll know that in a few years when you're not able to replicate new cells and it starts tumorizing on you and cancerizing. That's the problem with this radiation that they use. MSNBC, May 31st. Okay, let's go to the next headline. Germany. 3,000 Block Uppie protesters in Frankfurt cut off access to the Deutsche Bank, the European Central Bank, and other financial institutions. Protesters led by leftist organizations oppose austerity measures and capitalism. They fail to understand that current economic woes are not caused by free market capitalism, but by crony capitalism, which long ago was replaced by collectivism, which is a form of communism, but by government manipulation of the markets, entitlement programs, and political favoritism. Protesters are clamoring for more of the same. Reuters, May 31st. Understand and see that. In California, this article, rate shock. People in California, you better just pack up and leave if you don't want abomination care. Obamacare to increase cost of individual health insurance by 64 to 146%. Make less money Forbes, May 30th. It's a form of taxation without representation. Don't you know? U.S. genetically engineered wheat, which has not been approved for sale, escaped test fields and was found growing in Oregon farm that never intended to have it. This proves once again that GMO crops grown in open fields cannot be contained in an open field. They're growing a bunch of this stuff on the test island called Hawaii, if you didn't know, in Hawaii. Natural News, May 30th. Next, the father of Abergen Todosky, I mean, these names are really hard for me, an acquaintance of one of the Boston bombing suspects, says he is convinced his son was killed execution style by the FBI during an interrogation last week in Florida. The FBI said Todosky, I believe, was shot when he lunged at the agents with a knife, but later confirmed that he was unarmed. ABC News, May 30th. Well, what I've heard over the grapevine of alternative news is that friends of his were saying the professor, the guy that left earlier, said he wasn't armed. He was a boxer. I mean, this guy was just a boxer. He probably was being forced to sign a confession that he was part of it and refused to, got up to leave, and they shot him in the back of the head. And, you know, this is just normal practice now, the FBI. Normal practice. FBI is always trying to find patsies to step into a role so they can look like they're doing a good job when they run and grab the person and say, look, we caught another terrorist. We're doing our job. And it's not really that way. They're trying to protect themselves. The FBI has been ousted by the DHS. Department of Home Security is ousting the FBI for themselves. And the FBI is trying hard as can be in its alphabet business as the FBI, and it is to say that, hey, we're useful too. Please keep giving us money to keep fighting out there. Well, sorry, FBI, you're being replaced by the DHS. That's all there is to it, and you're screwing up left and right, and it's becoming obvious. And it said he lunged at agents with a knife, but later confirmed he was unarmed. They actually came out and said, well, he was unarmed, because they couldn't produce the knife that he used, supposedly, to lash at him and stuff. But the story is that he just said, I'm not going to sign this confession. I'm not going to be a patsy for you. And got up to leave, and they killed him. That's basically it. ABC News, May 30th again. Oh, here's another criminal organization. And they don't even have an alphabet. Monsanto announces that it will abandon the GMO market in Europe, except Spain and Portugal, because there are now too many legal restrictions and the cost of compliance is too high. IR Denmark, May 29th. Now you can see, and this is happening all over the world. It's not just happening in there. The big march that just happened was the red flag that these people are producing a dangerous product, absolutely dangerous product, and poisonous, and basically it's human rat poison is what I call it. And it's going out there, it's killing insects and everything. There was a call I remember hearing on, I guess Rivero had from South Africa just yesterday on the 30th. And what happened there is he said that now all the insects have died, and now we don't have anything to fertilize the crops with pollen, because all the insects are dead. And their crops are failing in big masses. And it was ever since they start putting GMO down in South Africa. See? It's just one thing after another. This is it. IR Denmark, May 29th. That's just the beginning of understanding. Japan is stopped altogether. China says they are not going to take any more. What was it? I think it was Hungary burned several hectares of fields of GM crop. I mean, there's a big move to stop Monsanto from producing this genetically modified organism, where they just stick all types of genes and modify genes. I mean, this stuff is not meant to be naturally. And we're not able to adapt, because there was a story also about a guy who was doing with honeybees and actually made a bee colony that was GMO resistant, and he was raided, stole all his research and all his bees, and took off with them. And he says, this has damaged me completely. And he was a beekeeper. I'm telling stories that may not be showing up on Unfiltered News. Next, video. Portland, Maine. A family doctor was able to cut his prices in half after he stopped accepting insurance. He explained that cutting the red tape and burdensome paperwork reduced his overhead significantly, and he is passing the savings to his patients. WGME, May 28th. That's right. This doctor just said, "Hey, I'm going on the internet. I'm using, like some of the sites out there for advertising, and he's advertising, getting a lot more patients. It's a lot cheaper, and he's reduced everything on his overhead because he went that way." Here we go to the next article. Israel threatens to attack Russian ships in the Mediterranean if they attempt to deliver anti-aircraft weapons to Syria. This probably is an empty threat, because it is unlikely that Israel would be willing to go to war with Russia. I mean, anti-war, May 28th. Let's see. Israel, 400 plus nuclear weapons. Russia, at least 2,000 or 3,000. I mean, who is going to win the battle of war between each other? And it's just like, and I know Israel can't go against them conventionally, and I don't think the U.S. would want to go to war with Russia. The U.S. don't want to go to war with China. I mean, okay. Well, actually, the U.S. is trying to go to war with China. They're saying, "Oh, China's hacking us. We got to do something about hacking computers and stuff." Here we go. Next article. Syria. Senator John McCain traveled to Syria on Memorial Day to meet with rebel commanders and pledge his support to the mercenaries. Support means providing weapons, financial resources, and diplomatic pressure, all with the purpose of overthrowing the present Syrian government. Incidentally, the activities of the rebels are a dictionary definition of terrorism. InfoWars, May 28th. And guess who he met? He met one of the main guy who killed a bunch of people and is a mass murderer himself. And he met with him and was like happy to meet with this guy. And maybe that story will come up in here, maybe not. I'm just playing the stories that I know on here, plus the ones I've come across throughout the week myself. Anywho, video. The U.S. Department of Defense says China has hacked into its computers and gained access to data relating to the important weapons systems. This is a serious breach of security insomuch as these are the weapons the U.S. has recently deployed in the Asian Pacific as a counterforce against Chinese power. CBS News, May 28th. But did they actually hack in, or did they got sold off? Remember, was it Clinton and Reagan? Both of them went over there and gave them supercomputers. Go down the memory hole. Just Google it. Google Clinton gives supercomputer to China, and Reagan, Google that one, gave supercomputer to China. And they're wondering why China is moving ahead as a number one power in the world. I mean, this is not going to be pretty what they're doing. They're setting us up. We're being set up for a fall. America's being set up for a fall by foreigners and domestics, enemies of the state, and it's just not right. The American people are the government. If you don't know that, you are the government. The government is your servant. And when you start waking up to that ideal that these people who are in government, state government, federal government, are your servant, you'll start to stand up and say no to them. No, you can't do that. We are the government. You're our servant. You're in place to make things happen for us, the people. Man, at least that's how it used to be. You know? California, political pressure for legislation to limit fracking and fracturing rock with water and chemicals in the drilling of gas and oil wells may be only a distraction. The bigger threat, environmentalists claim, is what is called acid jobs, which means dissolving rock formations with hydrofluoric acid. That's the same thing they put in your water as fluoride, hydrofluoric acid. So if they can't get you to drink the city water with the fluoride in it, they're going to put it in the groundwater where it doesn't matter. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you have well water, you're going to be drinking hydrofluoric acid, which is fluoride. They put in the water, the poison, the mind number. One of the most toxic chemicals known to man. This already is a common practice in drilling wells, and there is virtually no regulation or monitoring of how much of this acid is finding its way into groundwater. They're fluoridating the groundwater now. Reuters, May 28. Article of interest to keep for future reference. U.S. The #1 brand of children's vitamins contains ingredients that any parent would never intentionally give to their children. Here is a list. Here is the list of it. It's got aspartame in there to begin with, and then it's got these one-a-day type synthetics in it. I can go on. Be prepared to be shocked. Green Med Info, May 28th. We're being poisoned. They want to reduce the population. There's too many useless feeders out there, eaters. Ted Turner started that on his speeches, and all the rest of these creatures agree with that. The 1%ers and stuff who have all the power and the money, and they want everything else, and they got to kill you to get it. Don't you know yet? You're not paying attention. Too much fluoride in your diet. Too much poison in your food. Too much GMO. Next article, Obama has threatened the UK to withhold funding for a pending trade agreement if the UK breaks away from the EU. Why would he care? The possibility of such a break is rapidly increasing with the rise in popularity of the UK Independent Party, which has a pro-independence platform. In other words, the people run it. The Brits likely will not be favorably impressed by a president of the United States telling them how to run their own affairs, because they can come around and do that to us. Well, they have Israel doing it to us. Israel is running our country, and they think that their country can't be ran by the U.S. That's just like second-hand runners. Joshua Pundit, May 27th. Next article. India. Ayurveda herbs, I think it's Ayurveda herbs are reported to have a cure rate as high as 90% on brain and lung cancers. By comparison, chemotherapy commonly used in the U.S. has a 98% failure rate, but they are the treatment of choice by orthodox physicians who scoff at herbal remedies from nature. If you can't synthetically make a pill that costs $1,000 over one that costs 2 cents, we don't want it. Natural Society, May 27th. That's exactly what it is. That's what it's all about. Making drugs that are so deadly and make money off them. I mean, just watch the commercials up there. And just watch your commercials on mainstream TV. where they get these pills on there, like Advil or Advil and all these other psychotic drugs and stuff, and it says you'll have psychotic snaps, and this one will give you something like blood poisoning, and you gotta watch out for this. And I'm like, damn, I rather keep whatever's wrong with me than have those. What the heck, man? This is the insanity. This is what drives me chasing my tail and yelping and look crazy, is because this is all the craziness. This is insanity. It's insanity. It's the people in the asylum have escaped and taken over, and we're the only ones sane out here. But we're being dumbed down enough to believe in the crazies out there. Crazies running the whole thing. UK article: a friend of I'm going to mess this up. Abdi Balajo, one of the suspects who slaughtered a British soldier on the street, told BBC that MI5, the UK spy agency, had tried to recruit Abdi Balajo several years prior to the incident. He probably did. The friend was arrested immediately after his BBC interview, but police say that his disclosure had nothing to do with it. Sure, it was faked. It was faked. It really was. It was faked. You can look at the videos that came out afterwards showing his hand with no paint on, his hand with red paint on it. New York Daily News, May 26th. They're pulling another false flag. Keep you in terror. Keep you afraid. Keep you wanting to worship government. They're their God. They'll protect you over the true God within. Oh, this is just madness. U.S. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, reports that 20% of American children have mental disorders because they made up a bunch of new mental disorders and say, look, we can make more money, including ADHD, another made-up drug. You ever seen the book called, what was it called? Children and Wild Horses. I can't remember the author's name, but it's about these people, about kids who do have hyperactivity, and those are the ones that usually become great leaders. Are the ones there because they're so smart they can't pay attention to the stupidity the teacher is teaching. Because the teacher is all she's there is to evaluate and control students and make students repeat after the teacher, and not learn anything and bring up anything new. This is exactly what it is. Depression, well, I'd be depressed too if I'm depressed from using my intelligence, and anxiety from being in a place where I don't know what they're going to do to me next. This is what school has become. Up through college even. An estimated $247 billion, see the money being made, is spent each year on treating these conditions. $247 billion, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. If you go back to the 1950s, that was like $1 trillion. And trillions is spent each year on treating these conditions, mostly with drugs. Pharmaceutical companies are making all this money. We believe that the problem lies not with mental disorders, but with the medical system that makes and diagnoses and prescribes these drugs. When in doubt, follow the money. See? I'm telling you, follow the money. Cubono. That's the criminal. It's Cubono. Who's making the money? That was the ancient Roman court's decision when they would ask, who's making profit from this? And that's usually the guilty person. TSM, May 25th. You've got to understand. You've got to do your research. Get out there and Google. If you don't Google, at least start page. Anything, but start finding out what's going on really around you, and quit watching mainstream media, MSM, because they're bought and paid for by these very corporations. I mean, there's a video even on YouTube. It shows you all the corporations that are involved in all networks on TV. ABC, NBC, CBS. I mean, goes through it, CNN, everything. And it shows all the people involved in these giant mega corporations. And they're the ones that's telling them what to say to you. So the only thing you're hearing is what the corporations want you to hear to sell their products. Oh, come on, wake up, people. Wake up. You're asleep, Nero. You must take the red pill. Wisconsin, next article. Jury finds a raw milk dairy farmer not guilty on 3 of 4 charges against him for producing and selling raw milk. There should be nothing wrong with raw milk. You know, you can go in a store and buy raw cheese milk. Cheese made with raw milk cheese. I've seen it there. It's expensive. It's about $6 for like a quarter pound or something like that. Like a quarter pound, I think is what it is. I was looking at some today. And I was thinking, wow, I wonder what this is really good for me, because it's raw milk and it hasn't been pasteurized, so all the nutritional enzymes haven't been destroyed in it from pasteurization. Raw milk. This is a precedent-setting case favoring food freedom, which it should be. You should be allowed to take any type of food you want. Hell, you should be able to take any type of drug you want. If you're stupid enough to take something like heroin and stuff, you deserve what you get. That's your faith. Your fate, I just say. Oh, man. The farmer was found guilty on the 4th count of violating a holding order placed on his farm after a raid in 2012. But that is unrelated to selling raw milk. The complete patient, May 25th. This is just more of their control freakish. Some people out there are really seriously mentally ill control freaks. They want to control everything you say and hear. They're the outer limits of reality. And they got the money and the power to do it. And the organizations and the alphabets to do it. They got them under their belt. They're telling these people, hey, when you get out of here, when you get from being president, vice president, senator, congressman, the people that gave them money, a lot of money to get them back in office, so they would do the bidding of whoever gave them the money. They're sitting there saying, you know, when you get out of here in a couple of years, we got a job for you. We have a beautiful job for you. We'll pay big bucks for you too. And so they do whatever the corporation or whoever is lobbying, they'll do it. That's what's wrong with our government. That's why we got to fire them all. That's why we got to start a petition. This is what we got to do. We got to start a petition and try to get 50 million people on it that will stop this craziness. Stop these people. Tell them in the petition will be that we want you to leave your job or go on leave from your job because we feel that you're not doing it for our benefit, the government. And that's the people. People are the government, not these creatures, servants, supposedly servants, are doing. This is how we fight this. We got to start petitions. Get 50 plus million people on these petitions, have truckloads go up to Washington District of Criminals and say, look, these people say you're out of here. We'll send you to wherever country you want to go to, but you're out of here, and if you're in this country, you're not able to work in the government any longer. You're fired. We fire you. It's got to be done. It's got to be done, or this madness will just continue on and on and on, and you know where the outcome goes to. You like Stalin, you like Lenin, you like Marx, you like Mao Zedong, you like who else is there? Pol Pot. You like these people? This is where our government's going to. If you don't wake up and see it and smell the coffee, you're going to be in it before you know it, and your family's going to pay for it. They're going to die horribly in concentration camps and torture areas. I mean, Guantanamo is nothing but a setup for the Americans that don't worship government. And you're not supposed to worship government. They're not a god. You're worshiping man when you worship government. Stop it. Stop it. Worship the God within, not the God of man outside. There are no God. They put their pants on the same way you do, or dresses and everything else. Okay. Here we go. I gotta stop ranting. 'Cause it makes me mad. This has been going on too long. I've been seeing this coming for over 20 years. And now it's here. And it's getting ready to, the trap is getting ready to be shut on us. Because they have gotten to the point where they're done us down through poisoning our food, poisoning our water, vaccinations. They've finally done it. They finally got us in position for the takedown. And the fall of America to a tyranny and tyrannic government, dictatorship, you name it, that's what they want. You don't see what they're up to. You haven't been paying attention. You've been walking around going, lily-da-da, everything's fine. I have a job. I make, $7.35 an hour. That's fine. I have a place I get to live in. I have maybe $25 a month to spend on whatever I need. It's for fun. And see, there's the problem. You should have at least $1,000 a month to spend on pleasurable things that you need. New computer, new car, and if we'd stop these corporations from controlling everything, we'd be living in a future right now because people would get inventive again. The only reason that we have all this technology today is because during the time of the space program, we were moving up because we had a bunch of new, fresh minds from colleges all over the country working on the Apollo missions. And they were working on this stuff just like they were on the Cassini missions. And, they didn't make any money. It was almost like having an internship. And they made hardly any money, if any. But they were able to have their invention put into a satellite and go to another world and be used. And that was their thing that they wanted. We're not on the right target anymore. We're over-materialized, I guess, and not inventivizing anything anymore. We're rehacking the old technology over and over again. Oh, let's go on here. Video. Demonstrators in more than 50 countries rally against GMO foods and companies that produce them, such as Monsanto. I've got that in my head. The goal is to strengthen public support for legislation to require labeling of GMO food. Fox News, May 25th. Guess what they did right after that? Congress and Senate passed a bill saying you don't need to have that because Monsanto is above our government. It's above the U.S. government. We gave them that power. And when they told us we don't need labeling, we signed the bill that says we don't need labeling in America. That's wrong. You should be able to know everything that's in your food. No matter if you want to read it or not. We have the right to know what's in it. It's wrong. This is part of what's destroyed America, is people not waking up and saying, wait a second, this is not right. This is hurting my freedoms. This is hurting my rights. Man. Next, U.S. 2 FBI agents who were involved in the arrest of Boston bomber suspect Tsar. Oh man, Tsar. I know it's Tsar. It's pronounced Tsar Navi. Oh man, died in an accident while repelling a rope into a helicopter. Repelling it from a rope in a helicopter. Oh, that's right. 2 FBI agents died that was involved in this case. They apparently knew something, and the FBI didn't trust them. And the freak accident do happen, but eyewitnesses and participants in the conversational events seem to have more freak accidents than non-eyewitnesses. This is 12160.info, posted May 25th. That's right, there's more of the SEAL 6 team that was involved with the Osama bin Laden fake raid that just died because they were probably going to come forward with the information, and they knew this, and they decided, well, these guys are going to talk. We better silence them because we think they're going to talk. This is just amazing what they've done. Now let's go to incredible feat of balance. Don't miss the end. click and be amazed of how this lady is able to balance. And it's not just this. I think this is the one where she balances a bunch of stuff. And it's like, 20, 30 feet tall. But it's all balanced on this one stick. It starts out with this one stick and it builds up. I believe that's what it is. I've seen an act similar to that. I haven't got a chance to watch this yet. So, okay, analysis for this week. Video. Judge Neapolitano examines the federal government's infamous raid on Gibson guitars. It was primarily a paramilitary operation with SWAT teams, with machine guns, and detainment of dozens of employees. This is just upsetting because this should have never happened from Gibson guitars. Classic guitars. I mean, they're just classic. And they just don't like guitars. The government didn't like rock and roll, so see. The government said this was done because the company was suspect of using imported wood. In light of the recent scandal in which conservative groups were singled out for IRS harassments, it is reasonable to believe that Gibson received this irrational treatment because the company is a high-profile contributor to the Republican Party. Because they were contributing to the Republican Party, they sicked the IRS on them. More abomination. Fox News, May 31st. Okay. Video. An armed Department of Homeland Security agents patrolled Tea Party rallies against the IRS. Judge Neapolitano said there is no justification for using a federal police force to intimidate peaceful demonstrators. It's a waste of taxpayer money. These people should... The Department of Homeland Security needs to be disbanded just because of this act. This act here is as bad as the IRS act. And they need to be disbanded for it. They're not doing anything. They're trying to upsurge the FBI. And the FBI needs to go away, too. That's another alphabet. It doesn't need to be anymore. Fox Insider, May 30th. We don't need the FBI. We don't need all the bureaucracy that's out there. Just look that up in the Black's Dictionary, the ancient dictionary of law. And you'll find out what a bureaucrat is. A worthless person that sits behind a desk. It says that right in the dictionary. Man. Video. Whistleblower. Karen Hudd's former senior counsel to the World Bank says that the U.S. government has been captured by corrupt groups that include 147 financial institutions and Federal Reserve. This testimony provides a rare glimpse into epic corruption at the highest level of government and banking. Infowars, May 29th. There it is, the World Bank just comes. We got to get rid of the private banking system. It's got to go away. It's just got to go away. These people are criminals. All they are is usury. They're Palestinians of ancient times. The money launderers, the money traders. Usury. I mean, just look up the information. Please don't be dumb and just go along with this craziness. Know what I'm talking about. The ones who are not, I'm not preaching to the choir to wake up. You're asleep, Nero. Russians grow most of their food on small farms and house gardens without chemical pesticides. Communal farms are discarded relics of the past. The large-scale agricultural enterprises are rare. High yields prove that small-scale organic farms can feed the world. If everybody grew some food, we could feed the world. Natural Society, May 29th, and that's a fact. I mean, there's people I've talked to in chat who have gardens, sent pictures up on sites, and you can see their gardens, and they're beautiful. That's producing a lot more food than they can eat, and they say, yeah, well, I take it down to the farmer's market and sell some of it, because I actually produce more than I can actually ever eat. Tomatoes and, carrots and cabbages, and, oh man, it's unbelievable what one person can do with like a 30 by 30 square piece of land. How much food you can produce on that for a single household. It's just unreal. It's unreal. and we're just not awake to see it. We're too busy playing video games, watching Dancing with the Stars and things to be able to do anything, and punching and jabbing to make a living off of minimum wage creatures out there. That if they weren't so greedy corporate, and oh man, it's just unreal. I mean, it's go on video. Liberty Reserve, a global payment processor similar to PayPal, was closed by the U.S. authorities on the claim that it was being used by criminal elements for illegal transfer of funds. Most big U.S. banks process far more criminal funds, called money laundering, but the real objection is that clients were allowed to remain anonymous. They can't have that. They got to know where all that money is. They got to know how much you got. They got to know everything about you so they can incriminate you. This commentator believes that the impact on bitcoins will be minimal. Silicon Angle, May 29th. It's all about knowing you and knowing how to get to that money you got stashed away. Don't you know? Video, James Covert, analysis of the media's outrage over government snooping on journalists while ignoring the fact that the FBI is keeping records on every American's phone calls and emails. Even more significant than this double standard is the fact that the media is able to tell Americans which issues are important and which are not. Covert report, May 28. Man. It is the mainstream fact that the media is able to tell Americans which issues are important and which are not. Because they're controlling the media. The mainstream media is being controlled. They're telling you, don't worry about this. Go ahead with your life and go back to sleep. Sleep, the hypnosis. Believe the government. Worship it. That's what belief is religion. Belief is another word for religion. So when they tell you to believe in something, they want you to believe in a religion. Don't you know? I haven't been not paying attention. Video, John Strassel reveals surprising facts about gasoline and oil. Big auto companies like regulations because they weed out small competitors. Ooh, it's right. Competition is a sin, don't you know? Big oil companies are pro-green energy because they benefit from government subsidies and more. Fox Business, May 27th. There you go. Video, grow your own food in your own kitchen in 3 days with sprouted seeds. TSM posted May 25th. See, I'm telling you, it doesn't take a 100 acres to grow food for yourself. I say a 30 by 30 plot will grow more than enough food for you for a year. And if you grow like potatoes and stuff, you'll have plenty to put in the cellar. You just have a root cellar and put it all in there, and it'll last all winter too. You don't need this corporate food companies out there bringing food from all over the world. It's just, unless it's something you can't grow in your area and you want that, that's the only stuff that should be coming in. The stuff you can't actually grow in your climate. Then you should, be able to get that at a store. But no, this everything being corporate, and you have to go to the company store to get it, is just wrong. That's the end of the Unfiltered News for this week. And now we're on to the great photos, like this one, Panda Team. Look at that. It's humorous. Click to enlarge. I don't know if he's trying to get up on something or get out. Not very sure. Let's get out of here, Joe. It's too dangerous here. Got your humor for the week. Got your unfiltered forum. And that's about it. That's what you got. You got your chemtrails and nuclear war. Chemtrails at night. Orange in the day. Seen those. Actually have. Nothing on here surprises me about chemtrails. I've seen them all. Chem clouds, chemtrails, chem haze, chem glow. I've seen it all. I've come up with most of these words myself. These are my own words I came up with. I could start a dictionary on chemtrails. Don't forget all the ads on the right side of G. Edward Griffin's books. Don't forget silver lungs. Beautiful thing. You can make your own antibiotic. Costs pennies after you buy the machine. It's just pennies. Project Red Pill. Don't forget the creature from Jekyll Island. Dead Wrong. Silent Clot. Laetrile. Case Histories. Apricot Seeds. World Without Cancer. More about many cures, garlic and other things. Apricot seeds. Why in the world are they spraying video? You gotta see that one if you haven't already. And we're back to the IRS busting a tea party. Literally, a tea party. Alrighty then. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. This is Friday, the 31st of May. The last day of May. Tomorrow will be June 1st of next month. I can't think of anything to tell you about that yet, because news hasn't happened yet. I can say that I can give you theories of what's going to happen, but until it happens, it's not headlines that you may have missed. Alrighty then. You have a wonderful weekend. Like I said before, be good, or be good at it. And good day.